Good morning, everyone. Well, it's morning here where I am anyway. Christina Barnes here from Stamping. And, okay, so I'm coming to you live today. I've made a series of 3 cards using the koala image from Wild and Sweet. The first card was a really simple card and I did a Facebook reel. So it was just a short video showing how to make that one. Yesterday I did a little bit more complex card with a little bit of watercolor wash, and I did a pre-recorded video of that one which is uploaded to my YouTube channel. And so today I'm going to make the 3rd card in this series live with you here on Facebook. Okay, so I will show you the other cards, and there is a little bit of a story that goes with one of them. But for now, let's turn the camera over and get some stamping done. Okay, so turning it over. Okay, so I hope that's okay. I know it's a little bit dark, a little bit shadowy, but it's the best I can do today. We have, hopefully the sun will come out and make it a little brighter. So this is Wild and Sweet. It's the stamp set I'm using with this lovely koala, Aussie koala that I just had to use. Okay, so my first card, the one I did a Facebook reel for, is this one. Very simple, just with the gingham DSP behind it, a deckled rectangle die for the white, and then just stamped. And there's a bit of a story with this one. I'd finished the reel and I was just putting everything down and I accidentally knocked the card over. But I'd forgotten to close up my ink pad, and so it went over onto the ink pad and it had ink all over the top part. So I've just, for now, I've taken the top and bottom off. Not sure that I'm too happy with that, but we'll see. I might do something else to fix that one up. The second card was this one that I did a pre-recorded video for. So this is just on some watercolor paper. It's just a wash of color and then stamped onto that with some distressed edging on that panel there. So that was my second one, and today I'm going to make the 3rd one. Okay, so what I've got here is a very vanilla, thick, very vanilla card base. So it's just half of an A4 sheet that's then been scored and folded. I've got a layer of early espresso and then a layer of pecan pie, and I've run that through with the Timber 3D embossing folder. So that one's got a nice bit of texture to it. And then another piece of very vanilla. Alright, so I'm going to stamp the koala in early espresso. And you may have noticed in the other 2 cards that I've done them without a sentiment on them. I'm just trying to make these some blank cards for the time being, and we'll either add sentiments later or not. We'll see. So stamping straight down and straight back up again. And this time I'm going to close up my ink pad. Okay. Alright, so I want to let that dry for a minute and just make sure the ink is very dry. Alright. think I have some people who joined me here today, so welcome if you're joining me live. Thank you for coming in. I can't see comments at the moment. I'm not good with reading comments and concentrating, so I'll just say hi and thanks for joining. Okay, so while that one dries, I'm going to just stick all the layers together. So I use the multi-purpose glue, but you can use whatever adhesive works best for you. And then centering that layer of early espresso cardstock down there. And then the layer of pecan pie. All right. And then we can set that one aside for now, and we'll just work on the stamped image. Okay, so hopefully that's nice and dry. So today I'm going to be using one of the blender pens. I'm going to be adding some colour in to our koala. I've got Mossy Meadow and Pecan Pie, but I've also got the Whisper White. This is a really old one, the Whisper White Craft Ink. So I'm going to be using that as well to add some colour. Oh, sorry, to add some highlights in. Okay, I may add a bit of early espresso, we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Mossy Meadow. There's several ways you can do this. You can take the ink straight off the pad like this, or just use one of your clear blocks, pop some ink onto that, and it's actually really nice and easy to clean up. Okay, so I always take a little bit of excess off depending on how deep a colour I want to add. Now these are quite dark already, so it's okay to add a fair bit of ink into that. Now because we're just working on cardstock, we're not working on watercolour paper or anything that absorbs the liquid easily. Just make sure you work really quickly. Don't scrub up too much on the cardstock, otherwise you'll get a really rough look to it, and we don't want that. So really simple, really quick, and just adding colour. So this time I'm going to add a little less. Okay. You can see the green is just popping through the stamped image. Don't need to fill the whole lot. If you don't want to, you can just leave some of it uncoloured to give it some highlights. Okay, and that's the leaves done. I think. I don't think I've missed any, have I? Okay. So that's the green done for the leaves. Just going to grab a Kleenex to clean that off. I'm going to use, I think, a very light, small amount of early espresso on the branches of the tree, but not a lot. Just to fill it a little bit. So if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, I'd love for you to comment and tell me where you're coming in from. And I'd love to hear whether you've tried this technique. Okay, I'll turn it around so that it's easier to do this other branch of the tree. A little bit darker around where the shadows might be. Of course, the stamped image makes it nice and easy to follow, you know, where it shows you where the darker areas are, where the shadows are. Okay. So I think that's enough with that colour. Okay, and so now I'm going to add some of the pecan pie. Making sure that you take the previous colour out of your blending brush, sorry, your blender pen, so that you're not adding, you know, some of the same colour. So I'm just going to dab really lightly some of this colour in. I'm not going to put it all over though, because I want to come back and add some of the white as well. So I'm kind of experimenting a bit here. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put probably put the pecan pie ink around the dark areas. But I do want to be able to see it, so yeah, as I said, I'm just experimenting a bit here, which is always part of it. For me, it's playing with the colours. That's a lot of the fun of stamping and card making. Okay, so we've got some fur over here as well, so alright, and we can always come back afterwards and add some more colour in. Now with the white craft ink, I'm just going to take it straight off the ink pad. I'm just going to just pull some of this over. Probably needs re-inking. Right, so instead of doing that, just grab a re-inker. This is the other way you can just add a drop or two. Needs good shake up before I do that. Just add a drop or two of that here. Okay, let's try that again. And what we're doing is just making, we're just making some of this light again. And I know that doesn't make sense after we've just put down some dark colour, but it does just change the look. Kind of softens it a little. And you can blend it together into some of this other colour. Again, not working too hard, otherwise you're going to rough up the cardstock. So I'm not sure if you can see the difference between, it's really probably difficult in this light, but his face is a lot softer than this other part. I'm just going to go through and keep adding a little bit more of the white. I used this technique some time ago with a stamp set. I think it was the Calming Camellias stamp set. I had lots of interest in this technique and how to do it. Unfortunately, I don't still have that stamp set because that was a really good one to use for this technique. Just putting some on these areas here. Just to pull some of that colour together a bit and lighten it. Okay, maybe a bit more here. I'm pretty much happy with that, I think. Now, one thing that's really interesting to experiment with this technique is trying it out when the ink is still wet, because then it blends quite a lot into the white, whereas doing it this way after the ink has dried is just softening up the colour. And softening the edges a little. I think I'm happy with that. This is pretty cute, that koala. Alright, so I'm closing ink pads today. So then Koala is just going to go onto here. Of course, you could add some dimensionals to pop that up a bit higher, but I plan for these ones to go overseas, so I'm going to try and keep them flat. I'm just centering that. There we go. And there's my third koala card. And the other two. So these two don't have colouring. This one was just stamped straight on. This one was watercoloured in the background, and then we've just put a little bit of colouring into the image for the third card. Alright, well, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon. Happy stamping!